Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI summer season. We're today for the Friday tier round 1 out of 8 and we are ready for the Austrian Grand Prix qualifying session. We are very late. I do apologise, there's a technical difficulty in a few things today, but it's the summer season, so it's not too big of a worry, and hopefully these problems are all figured out before we get to the next official season. Now we have qualifying almost finished. Zingy P4 on his lap right now, but they did go off the circuit quite a lot. So are they saving to go again? No, they've used a lot of energy. So I think they're going to try and get back into the pit lane. It's wet. It's wet. It's wet. I don't know what's going on here though, but Zingy is in a bit of a panic. Charlie retires. Tom Rob finishes their session. Well, they're going to go again, I believe, as they've saved some fuel. But it is raining in the last few minutes of qualifying right here, right now. Heischler retires again. They can't do anything. And Zingy actually retired right there as well. Niffo on an outlap, but I don't think they'll be able to get an improvement in these conditions. As we know, in the F124 game, just being on slicks in wet conditions is absolutely horror. It's really, really difficult to get done. Now, as we see Tom just skidding under braking with the tyres, we'll go and see the sector line as they come through turns 5 and 6. Feeding it into the left, open up the steering across the delta line, and that is not going to be an improvement, unfortunately, for Tom. That will be that as well for Niffo. They go to the pit lane, and Robbo will also go into the pit lane, and that will be it for them. I don't think they'll be able to improve. It does seem like they might be trying to attempt to go again, but whether that will be successful, I'm not entirely sure. Losing the cars, they start their lap, unfortunately, and I think yeah, it's going to be a difficult one. But the race, I believe, if I'm correct in saying, is dry. Not entirely sure if it is, but I'm pretty sure it is dry. So that should be something that is good. I'm going to quickly... no, I'm going to leave that as it is. That should be fine. Now, we wait for Robbo to finish their lap. Igor and Tom Rob are in the pit lane, have not retired yet. Welcome back, Igor. Of course, not racing in the launch season, but returning for the summer season. Same for Robbo. But the other drivers have all been here, and that is the slick tyre on the wet conditions. It's incredibly difficult to drive. It's a bit more realistic, I guess. So that's a plus, but it's, yeah, a tricky one. A very, very tricky one. Just waiting for Robbo to finish. They'll go into the pit lane and retire their car, and that will be that one done. You can see the rear end just slides as you enter the corner, as you turn in, as you'd expect. It's just very, very tough to get done. Now, that has been it for qualifying. That is Charlie on pole. We'll get the results in a few moments' time and clarify what is going on there, of course. But other than that, we will wait for this to go through, and then we'll get the results on your screen. And that is, as I said, Charlie on pole. We've got Heisch P2 as well. It's going to be an interesting race for sure. Zingy making that final mistake in qualifying, and the rain coming in, just not allowing him to be able to improve on his lap time. Taking a bit of time to load, which is slightly frustrating. I hope we still get the results, regardless if we do or don't. There you go. Charlie gets pole position. We don't get the results. We'll see in a bit. Ready? Hold! Go! Who's going to get it into turn one? Charlie gets away very well. Heisler on the inside. That is Zingy trying to make it 3 wide, but they back off immediately. Nifo is going to go for the overtake. They go off circuit. It's very tight through this first corner on exit. Nifo comes out ahead, but they have to lift off and allow Heisch to go through. It's not Heisch, it's Zingy into P2. Heisler has the inside line. That's Nifo almost going into the back of their teammate, and that is not a good sign at all. It loses them a lot, and they're going to be threatened potentially by Tom Rob. Tom Rob a little bit too far away. After all of that, we've got Igor and Gilly. They are pretty close together. Robbo having a very tough time right there, unfortunately. Not easy at all, and that is a yellow. Charlie getting a perfect launch off the line though. A perfect start. Zingy, although, does get the jump from P4 to P2 in a matter of corners, and staying out of trouble and making sure that they get up there. This is going to be a DRS train, that is for sure. We'll quickly get all of the details up on the screen. Gilly's the only driver to start on the medium tyre. That just shows how powerful this hard medium will be. As always, that's Charlie taking the fastest lap as they lead the first lap of the Austrian Grand Prix to begin the summer season. Now, Zingy is going to get DRS immediately, lap 2. It creates a lot more action, a lot more quickly, if you want to say that. And still, though, not going to be making any overtakes. Now, this is going to be a very interesting race regarding energy deployment. As you can see, lots of energy will be used, but a lot of it will be saved. Now, where it's used is the question, because people want DRS, and that's going to make it incredibly tough to read. You might get the lead car saving ERS, and still the second car will save ERS and opt to not go for an easy overtake when they could literally zoom straight by. I know it sounds simple, but it's even more of a kind of mind game in this game, F124. Now, Heisler 6 tenths away, whereas the top two are only 4 tenths away from one another. On paper, it doesn't look that much different. On an actual onboard, it looks a little bit different, but I think they're still close enough. So he goes and puts in a brilliant lap. Now, they're saving on entry of each corner and using on the exit. Is that a good thing? It's really up to a driver preference whether you think it's worth saving energy over concentrating on actually getting the performance out of the car, but they're still, regardless, catching up. So it's working for them for now. That was a brilliant camera angle as we exited turn 3. Zingy not using any energy to go for that move. As you can see, the flashing light immediately comes on, even though they've got a load of energy in that car. That does mean that it's harder for the car behind to know if you're weak or not, that's for sure. But it still does mean that there's a lot more dynamic things that could work out in this game. Now, Gilly holding on with this medium tyre. They've got Igor Pro and Tom Rob just in front of them, and this train will continue. Unfortunately, Rob are having a tough start, but it is their first couple of hours in the game, really, so you can't really blame them at all. Now, Zingy, will they make that attempt to go for the lead? Will they put everything into play? And Heisler might even try and follow through as well, get a double overtake or just an overtake to get themselves P2. Now, Zingy's closer than they've ever been, but they're not going to be looking to go for a move. They're saving the energy once again up the hill, flashing lights, and everyone else will follow on as well. And it gets very, very difficult, because then all of a sudden, the closer everyone gets, the slower they'll be going into each corner, and then the cars behind that are just trying their best to stay out of trouble then start to get in a little bit of a confusing situation, and you can end up with a lot of incidents. Regardless of what these guys are doing, they are still pushing, and the pace is pretty close, so it's not an easy thing to do. It definitely does help, though, if you are slightly behind and you do need to catch up. It's still pretty quick regardless. Now, Heisch loses a little bit of time there, 7 tenths. See, the gap creates a little bit more. That is Charlie going over track limits. They might have just got away with actually getting a track limit as they stayed off a little bit longer and possibly lifted. So hopefully for their sake they did. Zingy was hoping that they didn't lift off long enough and they did get themselves an actual warning, which is very possible. And it would be an advantage, of course, later on for the cars behind, regardless of who it is, if it's Zingy or anyone else. That is going to be a virtual safety car deployed. Everyone's going to be slowing down quite a lot. I don't think we're going to be seeing any pit stops. We will probably just be as we are, as it's way too early to go and do a double medium for anyone. But other than that, we'll wait for this virtual safety car to come in. The very small chance that Gilly would come in, but there's a lot of laps around this circuit, so it wouldn't be that easy to do so. And with this game having such a crazy tyre strategy kind of flexibility, it can get pretty interesting, that is for sure. And there you go, is the green flag, so I don't think we're going to see anybody going into the pit lane. We do see Gilly unfortunately losing out on DRS right there, which isn't ideal, but just maybe making a little bit of a mistake on the restart. Other than that though, everybody else has seemed to make a perfect restart. A very, very good restart indeed. And it's worked out nicely. Zingy is super close to the back here. Heisler's going to try and attack. This is what I was talking about. Zingy's got to go defensive. Heisler's not going to want to let go. He's going to want to try and go around the outside. It's not going to work out. And Zingy left exactly what he needed to. All of a sudden, both the cars ahead are going to have to start using energy. Zingy's going on the offensive to try and defend. Offense to defend. And he doesn't want to go for P1. He just wants to stay in P2, but they have to attack. Otherwise, they will lose that P2 to Heisler. And that is an unsuccessful attack there launched from Heisler this lap around. And Zingy's going to have to be ready to pounce again, using a bit of energy. As Charlie used energy, they've tried to stay in the lead. Now, I understand that they want to be in P2, but those cars behind were fighting so hard, it might have been alright to just let them battle super hard and then maybe get involved in a bit of a scuffle and then go back through within a few moments. But still, they've got the race lead, and I don't know what I'm talking about, so it's fair enough, and we'll see. Maybe we could get a second opportunity here. No energy being used here for Heisler. That is Zingy though going on the offense again. On the outside line it's going to be for Zingy. He doesn't quite get it on the traction. He'll get the DRS and the energy will be used, and they are going to go for that inside line. The switcheroo to the outside though. Heisler, will they get involved as well? Zingy's got his car significantly further ahead, but it's not going to work. It is not going to work. Charlie holds on for now. They've got the outside line. Will they be able to leave the space for Zingy as they send it to the inside? On the outside, they're pushed into the gravel a little bit with a slight touch. That is going to be Heisler trying to stick his nose in on the inside. That was a hell of a risk right there, and he doesn't manage to get through. Zingy, it was close. It was very, very pushy and shovey between both of them, but he's managed to get it. Interesting position there to try and go for a move for Heisler. DRS available. ERS is being used, and Charlie's going to have to let this one go, otherwise they're all going to lose DRS to Zingy like they did in Silverstone. And that is Charlie going off the circuit. Nifo was fighting very close, I believe, with Tom. Tom gets ahead of Charlie, and here comes Eager Pro as well. Eager Pro to the inside of Charlie, going to try and come up in front if they can. It's Heisler into the lead of the Grand Prix, and Zingy back to P2 immediately. I do not believe it. Everything's changing up. That is Nifojan, Tom Rob, and it's still side by side between Charlie and Igor. Charlie's got the inside line. They've got to make sure that they don't smash into the car behind, and that is going to be just about holding on. It was very close on the exit, but they settle eventually, and now Heisler leads for the first time this evening, and Zingy is just going to have to sit behind. That attack to go to P1 didn't quite work out for too long. It was a tough one. It was a tough one, but it's exactly what we were looking for. It's interesting that it was kind of launched on lap 6, 7-ish, interestingly, to 8, of course. Very kind of interesting opportunity right there, but they all were like, okay, I want to just try and change something a little bit here. Maybe it'll work out. Now, will Zingy go for the inside line? He will go to, for an attack here on Heisler, and that is going to be a move gained, and I don't know if Heisler's going to bother trying to defend this one or re-overtake. They will just stay behind, and they don't want to be in P1 necessarily at this stage of the Grand Prix. They just want to be in the top 2. That is exactly what they're looking for. Now, Nifo is in a brilliant position now. They've gained a position after all of this. Zingy, of course, has gained a position after all of this. Heischler has gained a position after all of this. And so has Tom Robb. The only ones that haven't gained or have lost is Eagle, Gilly and Charlie. Charlie losing positions, Gilly and Eagle staying where they are effectively, not able to capitalise on the battles that were going on ahead, and it has changed a lot of things right here. Charlie going from pole with a massive amount of pace now has got a couple cars in front of them that they've got to try and tackle to get into the lead of the Grand Prix again, which just makes it incredibly frustrating and difficult. But as I said earlier, the strategy is so flexible. We could see anything happen right here. Heischler goes again for the lead. Tom Robb sends it to the inside, and Nepojan, he sends it to the inside. Is that going to work out? It's not going to work out. It was aggressive. The cars ahead were slowing down significantly, tried to get the job done, but Nipper holds on just about. And that's what I was talking about. Everyone goes very, very slow into the corners, and it's not going to be easy, as you could see right there. Zingy was leading, and Heischler, I don't think, was willing to go for the move. And by the time we got to the end of that straight, Zingy was saving on the energy, and that just makes it incredibly frustrating for the person that wants to stay P2, because then they have to slow down a lot more, and then everyone else slows down, and it gets crazy. That's exactly what we saw right there. And of course before a little bit with the battles, but because the energy can be used so aggressively and saved pretty quickly, we can just see all this racing happen almost lap after lap after lap, and we're probably going to get some more of it very soon. That is Gilly into the pit lane. Tom Robb goes off, Charlie goes through, the DRS train will stay as it is. It's going to be Heischler going for the lead of the Grand Prix. Will Nifo get close? They will get close, but not going to go for a move as they're saving on the energy already. That is Eagle onto the inside of Tom Robb. So Charlie is ahead, staying ahead. Eagle now not able to get a move, and they're going to have to wait. A phenomenal livery there from Eagle, very smart indeed. And we continue. We've got someone also with the lovely purple. Pretty good liveries from everyone right here in this pack, and we've got Gilly rocking that default, but it's still not bad at all. Anyway, Heischler leads the Grand Prix. We have got Zingy waiting behind, as you can see in the rear view. Not going for anything at the moment. Lap 11 out of 36, we're still with a long way to go. That is a track limit, and that is a time penalty for Heischler. I reckon we're going to see a few more from a few drivers. These track limits around this circuit are incredibly difficult, let alone F1 24, making it incredibly easy to ride the curbs and therefore easy to extend track limits. Zingy's going to go again for the lead of the Grand Prix as they try to work with a bit of a train system that they've got going on, and Nifojan is going to let that happen. Charlie is now in P4, slowly making progress back up the field, and then Tom Robb and Igor just have to follow on. Igor 7 tenths behind. We have got a hell of a switch up going on, and Heischler sends it to the inside, but way too aggressively. It's not going to work out. Znifo was to the outside, I think, of Zingy, and Zingy was a bit confused at what to do. Heischler had to send it. It didn't work out. Now it's going to be Zingy, Nifo, Charlie, Tom Robb, Igor, and then Heischler. He's got that time penalty, and he's not in DRS. He's going to have to push like absolute mad. I reckon he can. Got a bit of gravel on his tyres, but I reckon if they push a little bit, they'll be able to catch up because the train is going to be so packed up. They should be able to have a go at maybe getting it on the exit of this corner into the entry of turn 1. Not right now, but they'll get the middle and, well, part of the middle and the last sector to gain that time back up. So I'm sure they'll be absolutely fine. We'll see Heisch back into the battles very shortly, I'm sure. Hopefully we can see Gilly in the battles a little bit later. They're going for that extreme undercut. So it might work out for them. We might be able to see them continue in this race. So about 3 seconds behind before. These cars do have a lot of DRS and slipstream going on to gain them time, but they have been battling pretty hard, as we have just seen. And it will be very interesting. Heischler's, of course, lost a lot of time on the straight line situation right there. But as they go through the corners, I'm sure we'll see them catch up. And it should be quite good. for their situation in this race. They do have to push pretty hard if they want to do that, or go for an early pit stop, which wouldn't be impossible. It would probably be, according to the history of F1 games, a little bit too early, but it's not exactly impossible. Now that's Niffer going defensive slightly, but not too much, and that's Charlie staying behind, looking for DRS. Will they be going for the overtake? Tom Robb gets a 3-second. Charlie moves to the inside to go on the attack. And now Niffo has got to try and not let a second car go through, as they're going to want to go to the outside line, Tom, as they're going to try and follow Charlie through. DRS is available for both drivers. On the exit, Tom Robb's got a phenomenal exit. That was so close to the front wing of Niffo and the rear end of Tom Robb. He sends it to the inside as best as he can. They're so close on exit, turn 4 into turn 5, and he's going to drag race him up to the corner, and it's not going to work out for Tom. A phenomenal attack ahead for a moment. It's not going to be what it's hoping to be there for Tom, unfortunately. I'm all over the place. I don't know what I'm saying, but we'll see. Tom did a phenomenal job right there, just gave it their absolute best. Unfortunately, getting that 3-second, and they were like, you know what, I've got the 3-second, I'm just going to go for an attack right now. Come on, let's see what we can do. And I'm sure they can go for it again. Igor is looking very racy at this stage of the Grand Prix, though. This is going to be interesting indeed. DRS, unfortunately, making a mistake, and that battle is pretty much finished already. Charlie looking to go for the lead. Not quite. Maybe into turn 4 they might have a go. That was Zingy making a big mistake there. Charlie's going to go through, locking the rears into turn 3, and that'll be an easy pass, and that is phenomenal stuff. Charlie goes from P5 or 4, I think it was P5, yeah, back to P1 in a few laps. They've got incredible pace, and Zingy's got to be incredibly careful here if they want to make sure that they still have a chance of winning this Grand Prix. This man sitting on pole just has incredible pace. Actually gets another 3-second, unfortunately not able to get the DRS just yet. Charlie, they are leading this pack, and it's super difficult for the cars behind to catch up, and unfortunately they're only losing more time as we speak. Zingy 4 tenths behind the race leader. They're not an easy rival, neither is Charlie. That is Tom Brainerd, very close to the back of Niffo, and obviously Niffo's got nowhere to go. That was a hell of a kind of ride over the curb right there from Tom. Thought he was Tony Hawk. You're not on a skateboard, this is an F1 car. So be careful, mate, be careful. Now, Igor not able to go for an overtake here. They do, of course, have Heischler living it behind them, and Heischler hasn't really lost or gained too much on the last lap, which in theory you could think actually they probably gained a bit of time overall if they continue to stay at their gap. They've gained a bit of pace, I guess, on the cars ahead. They just haven't lost as much this lap as they did before, because you will continue to lose more time every lap with a train that we've got right now, as you can see. Now, Charlie leads the way. Zingy, it's getting to the pit stop time, and they're incredibly close to the race leader. They're going to be using energy. They're incredibly close, so they don't need to. They're using the DRS. They'll wait to see what Charlie wants to do. Charlie, they stay to the inside line. They're going defensive. They want to lead this Grand Prix. They want to continue to lead for the pit stop phase. They're going to have to lead to space. Zingy's going to get the traction down the outside line for the moment. Will they try and lift off and go to the inside on the last moment? They will not. They'll continue on this outline trajectory, and around the outside they will go, and it's not going to work for Charlie. They've mounted the curb a little bit too hard to get the rotation, but instead it's backfired and they got instability. They were not able to get on the throttle. Zingy goes through, and they're going to lead as we get to the pit stop phases of the Grand Prix, riding the curb through turn 7 and through turn 8. Absolutely incredible. We see it in turn 8, but not really turn 7. Now, not not going into the pit lane just yet. Maybe trying to push for a bit of an outlap right here and then go into the pit lane, or just see what the other cars do. And yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough call to make. And that's Igor finally making that move on the inside. They go for that overtake here on Tom Brainer. 7/10 though behind Nifo. They've got to be careful. They've got to use a bit of energy. Actually, they're not going to go for it. That's Zingy defending to the inside. Charlie, they want to have it run the outside again. Is it going to be the line? I think it might be, you know. That's absolutely incredible. It's a drag race. Zingy this time on the inside as we get to turn 4. Who's going to come out in front? Zingy does have track advantage. They are slightly ahead going into the corner. Charlie's going to have to back off, and that will be Zingy just about holding on lap 18. The pit stops are surely imminent. That can't highlight pit stop more enough. That has to be a pit stop. No way is Zingy trying to hold on to the lead of the Grand Prix to not go into the pit lane. They have to go into the pit lane for sure. They're not going in. That's absolutely mental. Absolutely mental. Crazy stuff right here. Not going into the pits for these guys. And yeah, Zingy just wants to lead this Grand Prix as long as he can. After all, we are racing with teams right here. We've got McLaren with Charlie. We've got Zingy and Nifo driving for Mercedes in this championship. Charlie goes through. Igor's looking to the inside to take the podium spot. Oh, and it's going to be so slow there for Charlie on the exit as they make a mistake. Zingy leads. Igor P2. Igor P2. Charlie, are they going to have a go to the inside? They're not. Igor goes for the lead of the Grand Prix, but there's contact. There's Nifo on the outside. It's all very messy. They're involved as well with a bit of contact. Now, Nifo trying to take that P2 away from Igor. They do get the job done, and all of a sudden, Charlie's back down to P4. How's this all happened? I do not know. That's absolutely mental. Igor was going for it. He really wanted to get into the lead. Everybody's diving into the pit lane. Everybody's diving into the pit lane. We don't know who's got what pit box, so we could get a few people held up here. We do not know. It might be that Zingy and Nifo can take different pit boxes, and they probably will. They probably figured this out in qualifying. All of these guys have got different pit boxes, so even though they're teammates, they will not lose time by pitting on the same lap, and that is a huge advantage whilst using these multiplayer cars. It's incredibly difficult to figure out the strategy because of that, but it's what we've got, and it's what we're going to have to deal with. Now Charlie and Tom Rob right here are racing on their own. Tom's actually going to go for the overtake here on Charlie. They're going to go to the inside line. Charlie's not going to be happy with that one, but Tom a little bit too hard on the brakes and they lose the rear end. I do not believe it, and unfortunately they're going to drop back. Not only do they drop time to Charlie, but that's going to be them possibly out of the train. They're going to have to hope that they can get to the pit lane and not lose too much time, and maybe hope that the cars ahead slow down a bit, but I don't know how that's going to go. That's Heischler on slightly warmer tyres getting a phenomenal undercut here on Igor, but Igor not actually able to get to Nifo right here. Their outlap's not really been what it should have been to get that DRS. They're so close to the limit. They're almost there on getting that ERS, but Nifo's trying to hold him out. They really want to get it done. Charlie, they go to the pit lane, and so does Tom Rob. That is going to be interesting. Where will they come out? They're going to come out quite far behind. That's Heischler who's going to be overtaking these guys pretty easily, and only one lap difference between Zingy, Nifo, Igor, and then Charlie and Tom Rob. So that's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Tom Rob and Gilly are going to be fighting now. So that's about 3 seconds that Tom Rob lost from that moment and that mistake, unfortunately. And Charlie 1.8. They've got a lot of work to do. Igor is going back ahead of Heischler here as they work together to try and slipstream, but all of a sudden the two Mercedes drivers in the multiplayer cars are leading the Grand Prix in Austria for round 1. Lap 21, we've still got a fair way to go. We're all on fresh tyres now and going to be absolutely bombing it. Zingy leads again, Nifo in P2, and these guys are going to try and repeat what they did in the last race of the season in Brazil in F123, and it could be very possible. 2/10 away is Igor. In fairness, they're catching a little bit. They're doing their absolute best here. Heischler, will they be going for that overtake into turn 4 possibly? I'm not entirely sure, but as you can see, Nippo, Zingy, they're doing the slipstream tactics as well. So it's going to be incredibly difficult between both of these guys. They're working to try and get themselves up the order. Now, will Igor let that happen? They're not using any energy. They're going to let Heisch go through, and they'll work together quite nicely. They're not, actually. They're going to be fighting. I didn't expect that. I thought they would have probably given the position up, but no, side by side. He doesn't want to give it up, does Igor? He wants to try and make sure that he can have a go at a P3 and not be stuck in a slipstream train later on. That's an interesting call right there. Very interesting call. Heischler not going to be happy. That's lost him about half a second because these guys have been working pretty well right up ahead. Whereas those two didn't. They've lost a lot more than they would have if it was just a bit of a slight battle. Now, Niffer's gone and put in a phenomenal fastest lap right there and broke away a lot here from Zingy. Now they're looking to continue their slipstream battle as well, just utilising that battery. That's 2.5 seconds, so losing half a second as these guys now go, you know what, these guys are fighting behind, let's just try and extend it even more so then we can relax a little bit later, and it's working incredibly. Charlie, out of all of this, has managed to catch up now from their little bit of a pit stop issue, going a little bit too late on the tyres, of course, making a mistake, almost going into the back of Igor there, but on the Heischler, they're going to try and go not on the back, but to the side. Now, they're going to go to the outside line as Heischler has to go defensive, but they're not going to get the switchback. Now, Charlie's trying to get a move if they can, but it's not really going to be that easy. They've got two cars in front that don't want to give position up. Charlie wants to try and show their pace up in front and see if they can get back into the lead of the Grand Prix, but I don't know if it's going to work out. DRS, ERS, they will head to the first corner. Gilly gets a 3 second, unfortunately, as they are on their own with that hard tyre. Tom Robb breaking away, but on their own as well. Heischler looking to go for the move here on Igor, as Igor's now saving some energy at the end of the straight. Charlie's going to be careful as these guys will slow up a lot into turn 3. As they're side by side on exit, wheel banging as they go, and they continue to do so. Charlie's going to send it to the inside line, and they're going to try and make it work. 3 wide between the two. On the exit, Heischler tries to get the advantage with the outside line, but the traction will still go to the mint car, to the cyan car, whatever colour you want to call it. We'll ask Charlie in the interviews, and they managed to get back to P3 with a hell of a slingshot from that. They get a very nice gap. Will they be able to catch up to the cars ahead now? 3.8 seconds is an absolutely huge margin that they've got to try and find right here with the top two who are working in perfect harmony. Heischler and Igor trying their best to stay in front of one another, but have maybe lost out to the cars ahead, which isn't exactly ideal. Heischler goes off the track. They're going to be careful they don't do that too many times more. They've done that this race so far and got themselves a 3 second time penalty, of course. Now Charlie stays ahead. That's Igor not going for a move this time around, and they will maybe see if they can settle and fight later on as Charlie is leading and being the kind of slipstream train at this point. They've got to really work together though and try and relax so they can follow. The pole sitter was absolutely mental, and they've got to take full advantage of that. Charlie is catching up right here. That is about 4/10 that they've caught up in a pretty short space of time, and will cross the line to start. It's 11 laps of the Grand Prix when the top two go across the line. There you go. And it's going to be a very intense race. Lots of switching. We get a switch actually from Gilly and Tom Rob as Tom Rob goes back ahead of Gilly as these guys actually end up fighting instead. So Tom may be making a mistake, which means that these guys are, of course, switching up. Zingy and Nifo, they did switch up as well as they continued their best to try and stay ahead of Charlie. But Charlie, rapid at the moment. They did gain that 8/10, maybe. Zingy and Nifo have decided, you know what, we're being caught, we got to make sure that we try and keep this at bay. You never know. If you can just gain a bit of time, the car behind might go, oh, I'm really struggling, make a mistake because they're too worried about it, and then it's game over for them and you've gained an advantage. So you might want to push a little bit. Even though you're not really under much threat, you might want to push a little bit. And these guys are really not under pressure at all, working together perfectly. On the same tyre as well, so they're going to be in exactly the same position as each other. Now, it might get a little bit difficult at the end of the Grand Prix if they want to try and fight for the victory. Whether they'll try and sort themselves out, I don't quite know, but we'll find out unless they'll agree on position, but I'm sure that will be something that they'll figure out before the race, of course. Time penalty wise, they've got a 7/10 margin right here, 8/10 if you look at it really now, and they're just trying to maybe extend that a little bit just in case the track limit warning is awarded and it goes over the threshold of 3 track limits, and well, I say threshold of 2, gets a third one and gets themselves a time penalty. They got to be very careful with that, of course. 7/10 is enough, but it's not that much. And if Charlie all of a sudden sees that the cars ahead do have time penalties, then they're going to push even harder than they ever have before. Heischler, they of course have their time penalties. So does Eagle, so does Tom, and so does Gilly. Now, these guys are racing for position. Eagle unfortunately getting that penalty quite recently. But these two are stuck in a bit of a train, so they are just going to have to wait for now. And be civilised for a moment, of course, on the exit. ERS not going to be used for Igor, not got too much of it. Gilly looking to the outside line here on Tom Rob as these guys have their own battle at the back of the pack. That's going to be another very risky moment there for Tom Rob as they get themselves very loose under braking right there into turn 3. They actually end up cutting the corner to try and avoid contact. So Tom may be a little bit too aggressive on the engine braking. Gilly as well, as you see him shift down the gears and just lose the car on entry. And that's going to be something that they're going to have to try and figure out whether they're racing tomorrow or next week. And hopefully they do so we can see them back in the battles as we saw at the beginning of this race. Because the beginning of this race, before the pit stops, was absolutely phenomenal. Perfect stuff from these guys. Very aggressive, but they all stayed in the train. And it made it very enjoyable to watch, of course. Now, Nifo leads again the Grand Prix in Austria, actually winning a couple seasons ago around this circuit, so they do know what they're doing. And they battled very hard in that very corner that he just exited together. Of course, Singy was maybe going a little bit too over the limit. I think they both pushed in, shoved each other throughout that race, but ultimately Nifo came out on top. Now, Charlie, 3.1 seconds, they've gained a phenomenal amount. It went up to about 3.9, so they've gained about 8/10 right here. 8/10. Just kind of here and there they've been gaining time, and it's been great to see. We continue with this battle, but they fizzle out. Gilly's not going to be going for the overtake on the inside line there. They're just going to wait for the DRS. About 29 out of 36, and Charlie continues to try and catch up. They can see the cars ahead getting closer and closer and closer. And of course, as I said, gaining 8/10, that's an incredible amount of lap time that they've been able to find right here. But will it be enough for later on? They've still got a few laps to go, but time is running out, and they've got to make sure that they find it sooner rather than later. The top 3 are looking pretty good. It's just they're in very different situations at the moment. It's quite a difficult situation that Charlie's got. You know, they've got to try and catch up the cars in front, but they don't have any teammates behind them. They have literally just, not friends, but foes behind them looking for positions. So Whether they're not going for an overtake now or not, I don't know. If they're attempting, just not being close enough. But regardless of that, when we get to the final stage of the Grand Prix, they'll be definitely going for it. And that makes it incredibly difficult, at least in the mid part of a race, to know what's going to happen and perform. Because you don't know if the car behind is just going to all of a sudden make an overtake and change everything up. Now, 3.4 seconds. These guys have just gained another 3 tenths, maybe 4 tenths now, I should say, even more. As of course they're on the straight, it does give them an advantage, but they're working together again and continuing to break away, and it is absolutely perfect to see. So it looks like maybe we made a mistake on the exit. Will that be a possibility for Charlie to now work on and utilise? They'll be quite close, incredibly close to the back of the Polish driver, but not quite able to make an overtake. They're just going to have to hold on behind, and they will be good to go. Nifo, he was very close to Zingy, and he made a mistake on the exit. Got to be careful at this stage of the Grand Prix. It's all incredibly fragile. These guys continue their battle, but the switch up happened. All of a sudden 8 tenths has already been gained, so either a bit of contact or Gilly has made a bit of a mistake on the exit of 4, which allowed that to happen. Now will we see a switch up again between these guys? We won't. They are a little bit too far away from each other to make an overtake. Yeah, Zingy seems to be struggling a little bit here with the energy. Using it, of course, to gain time, but not really looking great. That is going to be Heischler pulling the pin to go for an overtake here on Charlie, which is interesting. I think they're hoping that they can use energy to maybe catch the cars in front. 3.9 seconds. But of course they do have a time penalty, so it doesn't help the championship for Charlie's sake, of course, because, well, it doesn't make a difference. It only makes it easier for Heischler to be able to stay ahead of Igor, of course, unless they got their time penalty removed. But it only helps Heischler stay ahead of Igor, because Igor can't go for the overtake, because they need to overtake 2 cars if they want to get in front. But it does mean that Charlie will lose a bit of time if they are fighting, because then the cars ahead can just relax freely, basically. Now, Nifo does catch up a lot here to Zingy, so they might go for that overtake. Charlie's going to be going for the overtake right there as Heich makes a bit of a mistake on the exit, rides the curb on the left-hand tyres a bit too much, I think, and ERS is slightly dabbed on, and Charlie goes for a very straightforward overtake right there as we get to turn 3, and they'll be good to go. Nifo not going for that overtake right there. Zingy taking that as an opportunity to know he's not going to be attacked, so he'll save a bit of energy at this stage. And Heischler once again to the outside line, but not really trying to work it out. They're going to go back ahead, interestingly, is Charlie. They held the inside line, and whether Heisch let them go or made a mistake, I don't quite know. But they let Charlie go back through, and Charlie, they will continue to try and see if they can gain some time. And ultimately, these guys have gained time, which is quite impressive regarding they were side by side into turn 4. That is very impressive, considering that they were side by side. But that is Charlie getting a 3 second, and all of a sudden, it is all to play for with these guys. Looking at that, a 3 second, a 9 second for Heischler, a 3 second for Igor, 6 for Tom, and 3 for Gilly. So actually it's a little bit more complicated as I thought. That's actually a 12 second now for Heischler. So that is a very, very tough situation to be in. Igor's going to be good to go, and they're going to be trying to get in front of Charlie instead. Heischler fighting with 12 seconds is very strange, but they're still doing the job. And Igor's going to be happy because it means that these guys get closer and closer, and he can maybe go for an attack here on Charlie, but they do not get the job done. They wait behind for the moment, and they will let it be. But Charlie all of a sudden is now in big, big trouble. They could be threatened. Lap 34 to 36 are about to start the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix with Nifo and Zingy. And this is going to be very interesting between the two, because they're both going to want to get a win this season if they can. But it's going to be very difficult and hard fought. It's going to be interesting how this is played with ERS, but DRS as well. So we'll have to go and check that one out, of course. Charlie trying to stay ahead of Igor. It could get very difficult. They just need to try and make sure that they get a car in between them, but Heisler still seems to want to go for the move. Now Zingy is going to not go for the overtake here, and I can see what's going to happen right now. And all of a sudden, Zingy working together with Niffo, going for the slipstream chain, has now all of a sudden changed the dynamic, and Zingy is now in a very beneficial position as we get to the final lap of the Grand Prix. Not going for an overtake this lap. You don't usually go for an overtake in the rest of this lap unless it's very close, and it will stay as it is. Heisler and Igor switching positions as Heisler is trying to stay in front. Igor wants to try and have a go at Charlie, but it's not going to work out, and Heisler for some reason fighting with 12 seconds. I don't quite know why, but unfortunately for Igor it does mean that he is affected by it. It's not exactly illegal from Heisler, it's just a little bit confusing, that's all. They continue, and Igor is just going to have to wait behind and hope for something to go in his favour. It's the last lap of the Grand Prix though, and we will see the two teammates fight once again. DRS available to Zingy. ERS is not being used. Niffo is using a little bit here. The DRS is still there. They're going to go side by side into the braking zone. Niffo's going to get the DRS. They get incredible rotation into the braking zone on the exit. DRS is wide open. ERS is being used. Who's going to get the advantage? The outside line to Niffo. Zingy, is he going to be able to get it? He will not. On the exit, ERS and traction is down. Zingy gets the traction. That's incredible. The inside line will have to be sent, otherwise it'll all be over. They almost end it all, and Zingy just about holds on the traction. Absolutely phenomenal. ERS, will it be available? It's not. They've both got nothing left. It's been fought to the absolute end, to the absolute limit, and welcome back the top two, the best teammates in LSI. Zingy and Niffo win the Austrian Grand Prix, and Charlie takes the P3 in the end. Igor will take that P4. They got ahead of Igor Heisler, but unfortunately for them, they didn't get there on Charlie. Phenomenal job from Charlie to hold on to that podium. Gilly will finish in P6, and then Tom Rob will take that P7 in the end. Unfortunately for them, having that issue, but going for another set of tyres right there, and Gilly finishes off that race. A difficult one, of course, making that mistake under the virtual safety car lost them out a lot there, and Neville's quite able to gain that time back, which they really should have been gaining. What a race to start off the summer season. It's gonna be a very, very good season, that's for sure. Incredible racing. Niffo gets driver of the day. I think that is very well deserved. And we'll go and look at the results. The Scotsman takes the first win of the summer season on the Friday tier. That is Zingy taking the win. Niffo in P2. Then we've got Charlie, Eagle Heisler, Gilly, Tom Rob, and then DNFing earlier on was Robbo. We go for the race director just in case, because we will possibly need to. And then we will be back for the post-race interviews. We will see you in a bit. Hello everyone and welcome to the post-race interviews of the Austrian Grand Prix. That was a pretty crazy one to start off the season. A phenomenal track and a phenomenal race. We start with Tom. Tom, before the pit stops, it was a pretty crazy race. You were right in there, but unfortunately it didn't quite work out a little bit later on. Just seemed to have a problem with the brakes, I guess?
Yeah, most of the time. I felt super confident during my practice sessions. I'm pretty confident in the first half of the race. Some minor struggles on the brakes and on the power on the throttle. But when afterwards I was just so unfocused. Um I was braking too late there. I was too early on the throttle on the next corner. So I was just really, really struggling with the pedals or like the triggers on my controller, which probably cost me.
Hmm? Sorry, we've lost you there. Cost you something. There you go, you're back. Sorry, I don't know what happened there. You said nearly cost you.
Yeah, it cost me many points. I probably could have fought Zingy today.
Mhm.
Um, but with this type of consistency, it's just not possible.
Yeah, it's a tough one. That's for sure. But you gave it a good shot, and I hope it kind of the pace that you showed before is going to be great. And the more you play the game, the more consistent you will be, for sure. Obviously not racing tomorrow, but good luck with the match. I hope it goes well. Anyway, I look to the next race, which I'm not entirely sure if you'll be. Is it Canada or Silverstone?
Maybe Silverstone, but most likely the race afterwards.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So Silverstone, do you like that circuit? A sprint race as well, with it'll be one shot quali, then a sprint, then one shot quali, then the main race.
With the one shot qualies, I just can go kill myself because I hate them. Silverstone is quite alright, I would say. First sector, a bit hard on the braking. Middle vector, especially Macca's, Beckett's, and Chapel is really, really hard to get or keep the grip through the entire section while having a really fast setup. And then the last sector, if you got the really hard braking zone, just I think it's the third last corner. So yeah, you have got some really hard parts of the track, which are especially harder on a new game. But I could do well.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, I hope to see you there. If not, we'll see you the race after. Thank you very much, Tom. Really well done. Good luck tomorrow, and we will see you next time. And that has been that. We'll move on to Charlie. Charlie, pole position. It was looking awesome. Unfortunately, it didn't go quite well. A little bit later, there was a couple of issues throughout the race that weren't really your fault, just a few incidents that dropped you down. But then you got back to P1, pit stops happened, and then I don't know
Yeah.
what happened there. What was with the pit stops?
Yeah, so I tried to go for another lap because I was pretty frustrated with like staying behind Zengi, like his strategy like to recover in first place. I don't know, like yeah, sure it's allowed, but it's kind of annoying. Anyway, so I tried to go for another lap because I thought I had like more pace in my like lap, and I had Tom behind. He was like fully still going for it, so I had to like use all of my ERS down into turn 3 just to make sure he doesn't overtake, and then into turn 4 he spun into me under braking. So yeah, I just lost time, and yeah.
Yeah, that's
Then
sorry.
I tried to catch up after the pit stop, but like we were all fighting. I was like out of DRS, and yeah.
Yeah, well, it's tough. Race kind of went pretty difficult from there on, which wasn't exactly what you wanted. Are you still happy with the pace that you showed?
Yeah, I mean, I think I could have done my setup better because I think the method I used for making my setup is not entirely not optimal, as I learned. So yeah, this race was kind of hard because I struggle with the rears at the end. So yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the setup as well, but yeah, pace. I think like in the second stint, I think everyone was pretty much equal because we were all fighting and the gaps didn't change much. So yeah.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Well, really well said, and I hope you can fix those problems for the next race. Whether you race there or not, Monaco. Do you
Oh
like
my
that?
God.
Do you like that circuit? It is the first time that we are racing at Monaco since season 4. That's before Zingy ever raced in LSI, and that would have been in early 2020, maybe even 2019.
When is it in a week?
It is next week, yes.
Oh well, I like Monaco weirdly, strangely, but I don't know. I haven't driven Monaco on this game yet, so I don't know. I don't know how it drives. So yeah, I don't know.
Fair enough. Well, we'll look forward to it. And thank you very much, Charlie. I hope it goes well for you there. I know you'll be great at Monaco. And we'll see you next time. Well done today.
Yeah, thanks.
And we move on to Heischler. Heischler, that was a crazy race. Up the lead, or for the lead, of course, as Charlie was to begin with. Then there was a bit of a mishap at turn 4, and that kind of made it very, very difficult with the DRS trains and stuff like that. And then after that, you were involved in quite a good battle for P3. Can you take us through your race?
Yeah, it was, to be honest, the whole first part was just chilling, and after the VSC, I thought, okay, let's now push a bit to pressurize Singy and Charlie into doing something, since it's all good and well being P3, but you can't do much. So I just pressurized them, and luckily that worked. I could be in P1 or P2, which you actually want to be always. And yeah, then I made a mistake, or like I believe Singy overtook me or something, and then or tried to overtake me, and then Nifo and Singy both had the chance to overtake me. Yeah, I went on the inside and just completely missed my braking point. It's a bit of a rookie mistake, to be honest. I haven't played the game a lot lately, and haven't got a lot of race experience, so I'm not surprised that it happened. And yeah, after that it was trying to push to get in the DRS again, but I made a lot of mistakes, and yeah, you saw from the penalties I got a lot of track limits as well. Yeah, that's not ideal, but yeah, from that point it was just trying things, looking at where I'm quick and where I'm not, and just learn stuff. Tried to undercut, and that worked to get in the DRS again, so that's good knowledge. Charlie wasn't really quicker on new tires, so that's good knowledge. And yeah, the last lap, I felt the tires were completely off the cliff. I had no rear grip anymore, so I'm not surprised that I, in the end, finished P5 on track as well.
Fair enough. Well, P5 on track, it was going to be like that anyway, but at least you learnt something. That is great to see. And you can only improve from there, I think. So, Monaco, is that a circuit that you like? If you are to race there or not, do you like Monaco?
I will race there. I haven't tried it on this game, but it's not that I dislike it, or I don't dislike it. It's just really tiring, but it's challenging as well, and it has some fun sections. So it's not that I'm not looking forward to it. It's just another track.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. That's really well said. Hopefully it can go better next time. Great qualifying though, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we move on to Gilly. Gilly, it's another similar story, just not to the pit stops where you lost the DRS. The virtual safety car, what happened there? You just get it slightly wrong.
I think so, because in my opinion, I was quite close to the Delta, but just when we restarted, I lost the DRS, and then I was just gone from there. I think I might have been able to keep up with the DRS, but as soon as I lost it, I was just a bit screwed.
Yeah, it was a strange one, and I think you would have been quick enough to stay in the pack. Do you think if you didn't lose the DRS, you would have been further up the order?
Probably not. Probably around the same place, but maybe I wouldn't have got a penalty.
No.
So I could have got that. I started.
You'd
I
have
wasn't
been P2.
driving too
P2
hard
minimum.
when I was 20 seconds behind. I was just closing my eyes a little bit. So
Fair enough. Well, did you get some experience in the game that maybe helps you going forward?
unfortunately, yes, I've got more experience in the game now.
Lovely, lovely. Monaco is the next one, whether you raced there or not. Is that a circuit that you have good memories with?
I can't even remember, to be honest. So let's say yes or no.
Fair enough, 50-50. Thank you very much, Gilly. Really well done. Hopefully it goes better next time, and we'll see you then.
Thank you.
And we move on to our P2 driver, Nifo. That was an incredible race. Driver of the day at the end of it, giving it a phenomenal battle. Zingy had nothing left in it. He pushed him to the limit. That reminded me of a few seasons ago for the Austrian Grand Prix. I'm not even going to say anything more. I'm going to let you talk us through it.
Yeah, I mean, from quality, like my first lap, I was like, oh, that's actually like pretty decent for me who like really can't qualify. And then second lap, I didn't think I was going off, but apparently I was. I mean, there's gravel on the outside. I still think that's a little bit annoying. I think if gravel's on the outside, then you just don't have track limits. But yeah, I went over. I would have improved by 1.5 tenths. I think would put me P2. Not too sure. There was a lot of time in the sector 3 as well, so I think I could have been P2. I don't think I would have been Charlie, but from qualifying, I was like, if my first lap puts me like P3, then it's probably going to be good. Obviously, Zingy had some issues, so it wasn't really representative, but I was fine. Then the start of the race was a bit chaotic. Guys broke a bit too deep. I went off. I was ahead. Got a bit too excited. Misjudged the people making in front of me, and I had to avoid them. Got a track limit because of it. And then from there on, I think I was just patient, like the cars in front, I knew they were gonna battle a little bit, but I knew like as long as I stay with the DRS and as long as I'm in the top 4 in the final quarter of the race, I'll be fine. So like I wasn't really thinking like, oh, I have to be P1, P2. I was like, as long as I'm in the train, I'm fine. Obviously, I wasn't like everybody go through or just stay behind. That wasn't the case, but I was just fine in my position, letting the other people do the work. VSC come out. I was just very cautious, just waiting for them to go behind. Then, obviously, me and Zingy put some pressure on Gijs, and then he obviously did the mistake, which helped us a bit. And yeah, then the pit stops went well. We followed each other really close, just traded the DRS, and then we just created a gap of like 4 seconds. So we just traded a little bit, and then I just said like, okay, this final 2 laps, just we go for it. If we crash, that happens. It's racing. So final 2 laps, we just raced. I'm a bit annoyed that in turn 4 I went a bit too deep, and that probably cost me the win. But I mean, it was good teammates, teamwork, and honestly, like Austria is not a track where pace really matters. It's more about the tactics and where you are, a bit of luck as well. So I'm happy with P2. I think that's the absolute maximum. Obviously, there's P1 in it, but losing to Zingy at the stage, at the pace I am right now, and at the stage of my pace at the moment, I think that's absolutely fine. I think that's a win for me.
It was an incredible battle. Now, I do have 2 questions for you, although I've forgotten the first one, so I'll just move straight on to the second one. Pit stops. Do you think not having the same pit box as your teammate with the multiplayer cars was a significant factor in this race, or do you think it wouldn't have made a difference?
Yeah, I think it was definitely a significant factor. I think I wouldn't have made done a Charlie where I would have extended. I would have pitted a lap early, which probably in the end would have been fine. I probably would have been somewhere near Zingy, and if everybody did the same thing, then we probably would have filtered out quite the same. But you never know, it's racing, innit? So, but I think pitting at the same lap, being able to like trade instantly, did help a significant amount, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's all I can say. I forgot my other question. Really well done today. It was incredibly enjoyable to watch, and really well done. Monaco is the next race, whether you race there or not. Is that a circuit that you like, or is it a circuit that is not too great? I understand a lot of people don't have much experience around there at all.
Well, I seem to always crash there. I'm not really a driver who's known to be very consistent. Even when I was at the top of the field, I was still very inconsistent. So to keep it on track for like, what is it, like 39 laps, 36 laps, I don't know, but like is a hard task. I will try everything in my power to not hit my front wing off, but the history has proved that I will either crash myself out or someone will crash me out. So, but I won't say anything. We'll just see what happens there.
Monaco's Monaco. You're at the fate of the wars. There's nothing you can do. Don't worry about it. And I can't wait for it. Thank you very much, Nifo. Really well done today. Awesome racing, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And we move on to Zingy. Zingy, congratulations. That is the first win of the season bagged. And I want to ask, was that difficult? It looked like you were pushing a lot on the ERS.
Well, obviously, you know this game is quite easy to recharge, so it was more of a case of burning and then when you're behind, saving. So it was a bit difficult, yeah, I can't lie. It was the track limits were testing, but before that in qualifying, we had a bit of issues with my controller. You see me leave, it was my vibration wasn't working, which, of course, there's no, obviously, you guys have setups like Fanatec and Logitech and stuff like that have force feedback, but the vibrations are actually very useful for me driving my car. So I kind of messed up the other 2 laps. That's my own wrongdoing, and the rain came down, so I couldn't do much about that. But the first few laps obviously were very interesting. Just trying to keep myself out of the wall and out of anyone else's diffuser, and it done quite well until the pit stops. Me and Niffle broke away as Hige obviously made a few mistakes, and then Charlie got held up behind Igor and Hige, I believe. And Niffle was trying to say, we can battle for the last 2 laps and see how it goes. And I can tell you for a fact that I was not wanting to battle. I was going to give him the win. I said that he can have it, I don't care, as long as we got the points, but he insisted on battling and he lost, so he just gave away a free win. But at the end of the day, it was good teamwork, good battling, and that's all that matters.
I think it was worth the battle. Definitely worth a battle over than just settling it, unless it's like the last few races of a championship and it's important in that regard. But I think the battling was the right call. It was absolutely epic. I'm not sure if you realised how close it was as we went into turn 6.
No.
I thought
No.
it was probably going to be the end of the teammate relationship, but it's not that close. It was pretty close, but it wasn't that close. But yeah, really well done. Do you think if maybe Nifo didn't go deep into turn 4, it might have been a different story, or do you think you would have still had the advantage going into the kind of last sector?
I think that I still would have been side by side with him for the double left-hander, and because I would have had the inside for the last 2 corners, I still would have got it. But the fact that it's that close in the first place is very positive for the season ahead, and especially for the upcoming races. We've got Monaco next, as you say, and I'm not ready for that, I can't lie. I need to physically and mentally prepare for that one, so it's going to be difficult, but if I've got my teammate up there, I'm sure it'll be a bit more relaxing and a bit easier on me to do well.
Yep, well, you've answered that one. Thank you very much, Zingy, and we'll see you next time. Really well done today, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And that's been it for the post-race interviews. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. We will see you tomorrow for the Austrian Grand Prix for the Saturday tier. We will see you next weekend for one of the most nerve-wracking races that I will commentate on for a long time, the Monaco Grand Prix. It's going to be absolutely crazy. The first time in many, many, many years. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.